Alright, I'm finally bloody ready. This preparation took me like an hour. Hey, what's going on? Dr. Mike here, the mad Russian scientist of metal. Check it out, man. Cool. Doesn't matter. In today's video, there is something really important that I wanted to share with you. And that is 3 things that will improve your heavy recording. Now, this is not an exhaustive list of things that you need to work on, and these are just the primary things on top of my head from years of experience recording bands and recording myself, even more so, that I find crucial for good quality recording that stands out. So, let's get into it. But before we do get into it, I highly encourage you to fucking drink some tea. But before we do get into it, please like this video and subscribe to my channel, because you will not miss the next video, which will definitely help you out even more, and I will be able to share this with more and more people and provide more value. So like, subscribe, share, let's do it. 3 things that will improve your heavy recordings. Number 1, laying out the arrangement of your heavy track in Guitar Pro. Yep, I'm talking about pre-production. And while there is nothing mythical about it, for some reason people do skip this step a lot. And essentially, if you skip pre-production and if you just hit the studio straight away after rehearsing with your band, you are missing out on a roadmap to the recording. How are things structured? Which guitar is playing which line? What is going on with the bass here? Is it too busy? Is it too empty? Is the arrangement good? Is anything clashing with anything? These are crucial, super important things that you cannot miss out on. But even more so, I think that recording demos is not cutting it enough. Unless, well, there are obviously exemptions. Unless you're doing something really simplistic and demos just sound fine straight away, I highly recommend transcribing your material into Guitar Pro or into your DAW of choice and looking in those lines, how they work together, whether they clash or not. Reason being, and I've already talked about that in my pre-production video, which is hopefully linked in this bubble here. Reason being, if you do not work out the MIDI lines, you may as well be stuck on how things sound and how things are performed. Particularly so when you are still working out on those lines and you haven't learned the riffs just so well to perform them into the grid so nicely. There will be lack of synchronization in left and right channel, and while so, this will distract you. And this will give you million of options to think about rather than just one option. This will let you think about, is my playing good enough? Is my sound good enough? Is my guitar good and in tune? Is my that and this and that and this? Rather than just thinking, well, is this riff delivering? Or is this left guitar and right guitar that is harmonizing into it delivering? Are there any notes that clash with guitars? Or, even more so, with vocals? Imagine that. No more talking. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up my project, which, as you have seen, just crashed. This is an old one from 2015, I believe, or even older. And I'm gonna show you the early stages of the recording, where I was struggling with the song arrangement-wise a lot. It's a difficult track, and I couldn't figure out what the hell to do in the section forever. Since I wrote it, I was struggling, and I was struggling with the demo, but once I transcribed into Guitar Pro, I finally realized how to perform those guitars properly so that they work and deliver. Let's get into it. Hopefully Logic doesn't crash again.
8 hours later.
Finally bloody opened. Good. So, I'm talking about this fragment here. Have a listen. Alright, this doesn't sound too bad, especially for a demo when I was just trying to record that riff which I just have come up with. But there is missynchronization in left and right channels, as you can hear. Not too bad, can be worse, but there is some, and that is distracting. Not sure about the sound either. I mean, it's kind of thin, and then I'm questioning myself whether the riff is thin and the riff doesn't sound heavy enough, or it's just the sound, you know. It's always a bit of a problem. And then you can sit down with the guitar and be distracted with your sound and start twisting knobs at this stage and be wrong about it, because it's not the time to twist the knobs as of yet. Or you can sit down, go into Guitar Pro here, like I've done here, and have a bloody listen to what it sounds like in MIDI, with no distractions, with no sound, with no performance issues, and just focus on the arrangement. Right? This makes so much more sense, and it straight away gave me the idea of how to actually record this part. I recorded it much more muted, so that it is more percussive and it cuts through better, and it turned out to be really, really spectacular. Those harmonies as well, we're talking about subtle details, but in metal, the more complex the music is, the more it is all about subtle details, as long as you can record well, and hopefully you can. And those harmonies are much more refined now. Here in particular. You could never bloody hear that in the demo, because it is not tight enough for those 2/16th notes to stand out enough. And on that, I hope I have delivered my point. If your music is complex enough, and pretty much it is 90% of heavy music, 90% of metal recordings, go and transcribe your stuff into Guitar Pro, man. Number 2. Tightness and good performance means more than sound. Look, this is a bit controversial, and I hope that you don't get angry on me, but I do think that super tight recording with shitty sound will still sound much better than shitty recording with incredible raw tone. But without good musicianship, there is no freaking music. So focusing on delivering the best possible performance will mean so much more than spending time on the tone without being able to perform the parts properly. However, the raw tone is very important as well, and that is my encouragement. Do select the tones that you like the best way possible, and if you cannot, that's okay. Just perform the best way you can. Just perform super tight, perform surgically well, or if not, if that's not your cup of tea, perform with the best vibe you can, best energy, best delivery. And if you can select the gray tone, go for it. If you can't, leave that to your producer. On that tight recording though, check out how I finalized recording this song, and that fragment particularly here. So it's pretty important to keep these things super tight and neat as well. That's not a prerequisite. I've done it for myself because I just wanted it to be extremely super tight. Or maybe I just play like crap. Up to you to judge, man. My motto when recording certain such riffs is each note has to be attended. Each note has to be taken into account very carefully and just considered really specifically. And number 3, not copying the trends and not using what everyone else does. That's a big one, and that's a bit of a controversial one, so hear me out on this. What I'm trying to say is, there is a thing in music industry and in metal in particular. One band gets big by doing something that no one ever has. They do something in a unique way, they invent a new sound of metal. As an example, some of the latest metalcore records did that, and bands that blew up and became big after recording certain albums, you know what I'm talking about, have become big and they have invented a new wave of something. And that is incredible. But as a downside of that, there appear some other bands that are trying to simply ride on that same wave. And although efficient enough, it can only get you so far because someone else has already invented this, because they have put everything into their own unique feel and sound. I'm not saying that it is wrong to implement elements of others' sound, especially if it fits your music or simply inspires you. That's completely fine, and by all means go for it. But simply copying one's formula in sound will not lead you far enough. What I'm proposing here, definitely do get excited with someone else's sound. Definitely do implement the elements of what they are doing. Absolutely go for it. But experiment and find something that represents you as a personality in metal, that gives your sound, whatever it is, whichever weird or common or nonsense way it sounds, whichever crazy idea it represents, just go for it, experiment and find a way to fit it into your style, and that will bring you to the top of that new wave that you can ride to success. On that, I will sign off, and thanks for watching. Hope that you find it helpful and follow for more advice on heavy stuff.